Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle from WeAreSC.com. We are one game in to the 2025 season, and I won't surprise you with this. We're going to talk a little bit about that game. We're going to talk a little bit about the next game coming up, which I'll be honest, is about as exciting as the one that just passed. Maybe talk a little bit about what's going on around the country. I think we saw some interesting things. I think that's good enough. Fellas, you ready to jump in?
I'm ready. Let's get it on.
Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with, what did you see Saturday that surprised you? By the way, viewers, they had no idea I was going to ask that question. I'm going to jump right in and make Mark answer it. Mark, what did you see Saturday that surprised you?
That footballs can survive 380 pounds landing on top of it directly. Look, I think what surprised me the most was how many points USC put up. We knew they were going to win that game. We knew they were going to win that game convincingly, but they could have actually scored more than 73. And that's what's so scary is, obviously the opponent wasn't worth their weight in gold, but USC missed a couple of opportunities to put up 80 points. Greg said they were going to do it, and I was like, that's not going to happen. I left the press box when USC had 66 points. I figured, all right, get in the elevator, get down the field, get ready for the post-game interviews. I look up at the scoreboard. There's 73 points. I had no idea they scored another touchdown. Look, I was surprised of how well prepared they were, how well they played. There's so little to nitpick to kind of, try and find to be constructive about. You just take that type of win and you hope you can build off of it. You're not going to get that same type of point margin this Saturday coming up, but you just hope the team plays as well as they did the previous week and they continue to stack good days.
Yeah. Greg, you see something Saturday that surprised you?
I saw more things that disappointed me.
Let's start. That's not the question, but let's start with that.
I know that.
I'm sure to hear
I do that to get your attention. Nothing really surprised me. I think that if you wanted to learn something about this team, they probably saw it in practice sessions because with all due respect to the opponent, they're horrible, really horrible. And my feeling was, hey, SC came out, they scored a lot of points. Okay, good for them. Hopefully they can have those amount of points when they play, more attractive teams, should we say?
They will not, Greg. They will not score.
I did that because I knew it would annoy the hell out of you, Chris. I knew it, and I just had to do it.
I've been watching USC football a long time. You've been watching it longer. Neither one of us has seen them score 73. So no, that's not.
They scored a lot. I think they scored a lot against Arkansas one year. They did score
70.
A lot. Yeah,
70. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reality was. Now, are you going to ask what we didn't like, or can I go right into that?
No, let's save that. Let's save the belly aching over a 73-13 win.
Belly aching?
Build suspense. Let's build suspense, Greg.
All right. You want to build suspense?
What did you see that surprised you Saturday?
Nothing really on the positive end. I think that they ran the ball. They ran the ball well. I mean, I was very pleased that the way I saw Waymon Jordan run the ball, and Eli Sanders, and Brian Jackson. So I was looking for how they could break tackles and how they were going to hit the right holes and make something that looked like it wasn't going anywhere, going somewhere. So I was pleased with the other couple running backs too. I thought that was good. I thought catching the passes was pretty good. Defensively, they played hard. They played against an offense that really wasn't very good for the most part. I don't, not very good is even over the top in saying that, but it was the first game, and it really wasn't a game. It was an exhibition, as I saw it. And if it would have ended in the first half, I would have been happier than heck. But I was glad to see that Longstreet got in as a quarterback. That was good. He was the ball more than I thought he would.
We're going to talk a little bit about Longstreet in a minute. Eric, anything you saw that surprised you Saturday?
I got a couple things they're small. I was surprised that Jay Mayava didn't I mean, there was nothing like in harm's way or any kind of decision or throw that like was even remotely had a chance to be picked off, right? The one and there's really only three throws that you can look at, three incompletions. The one to Mackay, if you're going to miss that, miss it deep because if it's short, that's the only chance it can get picked off. Again, that's a throw you have to make. I mean, it's a 19 out of 20, 24 out of 25, whatever it is. Like at this level, you're going to want that. The one to Jacoby, maybe the best throw of the day. Like that's tight coverage and in the only spot where he can catch it, puts both hands on it. And then the third one is thrown to a wide open tight end and a guy gets up in the passing lane. Now, if that gets tipped in the air, it's something else. But that to me was to throw it, he didn't throw it 36 times, but to throw it 18 times and 18, yep, that's the one, that's the one, that's the one. That was nice. The other one I think is smaller, and it's that John Ray Reed didn't take any snaps in the first half with the ones, and I assumed right that competition was close enough where let's take a look at him with this group as we go forward. So the fact that like the ones of the offensive line, that was it. That was it. No shuffling, no moving, nothing for that first half. I thought that was at least like a takeaway of no. I also thought that there was a chance. I mean, this wasn't a pregame. I think this is going to happen, so I'm surprised by it. But when it was a full hockey line change at halftime, right? Nothing where it's, hey, come out, get a series after half. Like, how do we adjust in the locker room, and then what does that look like? And I think it's potentially it's one of those, if at Illinois is this Saturday, then maybe you get them another one. But the fact that you probably have another tune-up, maybe two, maybe three, then it's more understandable. But yeah, to go fully to Longstreet at that point, I thought was at least interesting at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, look, there are two things that surprised me. One was Lake McCree pulling away on a 64-yard touchdown catch. I mean, look.
Surprised Lake McCree too, I think.
Of course it surprised me.
All made possible because Jaden missed Mackay Lemon deep. Remember, that play doesn't happen without the incompletion.
He trusts McCree's speed. So that surprised me. I was surprised by 73 points. I mean, look, you can talk about how bad Missouri State is, and they are. But there were a lot of major programs that played bad teams this week and did not come close to doing that. I mean, Oklahoma, who everybody wants to talk about because they apparently play good defense and John Mateer is really good. Oklahoma played an FCS team. It's an FCS team that lost to Missouri State 41-7 last year. And Mateer played the whole game. He had to because OU was up 21-3 in the fourth quarter and couldn't run the ball. They barely got to 100 yards rushing. They averaged 3 yards a carry. Their offense scored their starting offense, because that's the one that played, scored 5 touchdowns and got stopped 4 times. Now, if USC had played like that, we'd be panicking right now, probably rightfully, especially if we had Michigan next week like they do. Indiana was garbage against Old Dominion. Texas A&M looked like garbage in their game against UTSA. I mean, so just because you're playing a bad football team doesn't mean you're going to go out and dominate in all aspects of the game. Doing that doesn't mean you're a national title contender. But it's not a given that you'll do that. And we've seen other USC teams play weak opponents early in the year and look like garbage doing it. That's happened many times. So, look, I was surprised by 73. I thought they might get to 60. I thought it would be a beatdown, but that was surprising. All right, let's do this. Let's go to some position groups. We've talked a little bit about.
Can I just interject? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
What I didn't like is I thought defending the rush.
Well, we're going to talk about that. No. You have to wait. Greg Katz, you wait.
Oh, when you give me the finger, I tell you, when you give me the finger like that, it sets me back. I can tell you.
That's not the finger I'm going to give you if you keep it. Listen, let's talk about the quarterback position. Frankly, I'm more interested right now in Longstreet than on Mayava. Mayava did exactly what you would want him to do. He ran the ball a little bit more, not a ton, a little bit more. But I want to talk about the kid. I want to talk about Longstreet. Greg, I'm going to go to you first. What was your impression of the true freshman quarterback? He got to play a bunch.
I think he really likes to run the ball. I think he likes to run the ball. I thought he ran the ball too many times, in my opinion, but that's okay. You know what? He wanted to play. He was excited to play. He didn't show any fear out there. He held his own. Is he ready to go against Notre Dame today? No. Is he ready to go against Oregon today? No. But then again, you know, he was put in the game. I want to compliment Lincoln Riley. He gets a lot of pluses for me that he started the third quarter with Longstreet. That he didn't say, "Well, we'll give Mayava group the first set of downs, and then I'll make some changes." He went right for it, and I tell you what, I thought it was a classy move. I thought it was a great move. You know, you got to see what Longstreet. He's very athletic, very athletic. I still think we need to see more of his passing in more, should we say, challenging targets. But I was happy to see what he did for sure.
I'd like to see him slide a little bit more too, but
That would be a good idea if he wants to keep alive.
Eric, thoughts on? You've already talked about Mayava. Thoughts on Longstreet?
I think similar, right? I mean that's a high school quarterback still that can run over defensive backs and linebackers, right? Like that's the mentality. I'm the best athlete on the field. Nobody can touch me. I can do this, and it's a transition, and you've got to get there. You got to get there. You got to slide. You got to go out of bounds. Everyone loves the quarterback throws the right shoulder into a guy tackling him until you're out for 6 weeks because you've dislocated that right shoulder. So that's sort of first of all. The athleticism pops immediately. I mean, I said during the game chat where I don't know what his top end speed is. Like I don't know if he's elite just sprinting 75 yards away from everybody. But whatever that top speed is, he gets there right now. Like his acceleration is incredible. His change of direction, all of that, like the running ability makes you think, okay, there's something where he could do something with that right now. He's got to develop as a quarterback, right? There was the near interception where he got bailed out with the pass interference, and it was obvious pass interference, but Carson's open, Tabarachi's open immediately coming across, and it was late and late and late and late, and then late over the middle. The fumble is held on just too long. Kind of that pocket awareness needs to go. You can see right there's some thoughts about like, could he push Mayava now? Could he play now? No, but oh my gosh, he's gonna get there, and there is a ton of talent in there. Some of the stuff just with the arm, right? Dropping down, hitting that kind of low, quick angle on the tunnel screen and stuff like that. Like it comes out quick. The arm talent's there. He's got it for game one. The seeing the game and playing quarterback and all of that stuff, that's gonna come. I don't think he's close to ready for all of it right now. But you look around college football landscape and it's like people are putting worse quarterbacks out there for teams that think they're going to win some games this year. So, no, I mean, if USC had to go to him, you could figure out an offense around him. He's not going to come in and run the Lincoln Riley offense right now.
Yeah, no, look, he can move and he has a live arm, and it was fun to watch. He has a lot to learn. But I'm with you. I mean, I watched Notre Dame play last night, and they didn't trust their redshirt freshman quarterback to throw the ball more than 4 yards downfield. Probably cost them the game. And I'll say this: if they don't start trusting him before October 18th, it's probably going to cost them that one. That Notre Dame team is not good enough to beat a good football team if all they're going to do is run into a stacked box and throw screen passes. All right, Mark. Unless you really want to say something about the quarterbacks, I want to ask you about the running backs. Do you have anything about the quarterbacks you just can't help but say?
I'm okay.
All right, let's talk about the running backs. Those guys look like they might be all right. What was your impression of the running back room?
I think Huson Longstreet could play running back in his future if he wants to.
Yeah,
That's I'll throw that in there for the quarterbacks. Look, we got a little bit of a sample size, little taster test, an appetizer of what Waymon Jordan's capable of doing. We saw a little bit in practice, but that 26-yard run that he kind of showed off, and that was really pretty much it for the day for him. It's like, all right, Eric and I looked at each other like, oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
So you have him. You've got Brian Jackson, who is the perfect complement to a Waymon Jordan. So someone you can, once you get into the red zone, you get inside the 5-yard line, hand it off, and he's gonna make his way across the line. And then you gotta love what you saw from Eli Sanders, right? A little swing pass out there in the flat, and 73 yards later, he's Travelers chasing him. So the Coach Riley said this is his best room since he's been at USC. Based on that one game, you're not going to argue with him.
Yeah. So Eric, after the bowl game, when Brian Jackson played so well, a lot of USC fans were wondering, why in the world did USC go out and pick up a junior college running back? I don't get it. Why can't we play the guy we recruited? He's good. I think we know now, don't we?
Yeah. And I mean, you had an idea just based on buzz and people talking about him. Like, I mean, day one when he got to USC, it was okay. This kid has got it. And just like a fortuitous kind of way USC got him, like not super actively recruiting him, came onto him late, had some connections with Hutchinson, brought him out, landed him. Like it's a different running back room without him. It's different because he's a guy where you give him the ball, he's got 3 defenders around him, and somehow it's 8 yards, right? Like he has that chance, he has that ability. The stop start at full speed is really impressive. The balance, all of that. I think the only thing you want to see with the running backs is like they picked up a couple short yardage things, but like that's a tough short yardage, right? Is it against like a veteran Illinois Notre Dame defense? Like, can you go 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 consistently and get those? Those are the things we're not going to know. But I mean, the talent, the ability, the pass catching of all of them, it's good. There's a lot to work with in that room.
You didn't even mention
Yeah.
King Miller yet. I mean, the walk on.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And look, Missouri State probably isn't the fastest defense USC is going to see this year, and so, but it was impressive to watch Sanders and Miller pull away. Um, Greg, I think it took me one play to understand that we have a back who can make people miss, right? That is Waymon Jordan. Waymon Jordan's ability to stop on a dime, to cut left, right, is impressive. Obviously, with a running back, we still have to see how's this guy going to do picking up blitzes. Is he gonna hold on to the football? Right? There are all kinds of other things you judge running backs on, but after one play, it looked to me like, okay, USC's found their new starting running back, right? I mean, is it too early to say that that's the guy that needs to be getting 80% of the carries at this point?
Well, I look at Brian Jackson. I think he's a hell of a running back. He's kind of like, and I hate to make a comparison because it's not fair to make this comparison, but he's kind of like your Lendale White type of comparison to me, that he can move people. He's strong. He's got enough speed. The question is okay, what do you do with Eli Sanders, who has a lot of speed and can break out? But the thing about Waymon Jordan is, when I was watching Waymon Jordan, I don't know why. I mean, people will say to me, okay, go live back in the 70s and 60s. Makes you happy, doesn't it, old man? Well, for those of us who were around that time, SC had a great running back that replaced O.J. Simpson. His name was Clarence Davis. And I saw Clarence Davis in community college. He was tough as nails. I think Waymon Jordan's tough as nails. They both have an ability to jettison tacklers. Tacklers hit them, they keep moving. Breakaway speed, I don't know whether he had breakaway speed or Clarence Davis was fast but didn't have the breakaway speed of some of the others that we saw. Certainly not close to Simpson, but the bottom line is that I liked about Waymon Jordan is when they play physical defenses, he's going to get 3 or 4 yards when somebody else might get 1 or 2 at best. And over the course of a game, and you get one of those, it's third and inches, a third and a yard. You know what? He's who you want in there because he's going to go. And I tell you, in talking with him and having spent the time talking with him, he's a really, as we like to use the term, he's a gym rat. He lives football. He wants football. Everything's about football. And he's going to come to play all the time. He's going to play at top speed. And obviously, he wants to go to the NFL at some point. So his running style, to me, is very entertaining to watch. I don't expect to see 80-yard runs and 75-yard runs, but he's going to make some very exciting 17-yard runs because he's going to make them happen. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Also on he's a guy who's going to give you a 2nd and 6 when an average FBS running back might get you a 2nd and 9. And that's enormous because those extra few yards change everything on your play calling and the like. I'm excited about him. With the receivers, look, I'm going to summarize this. You guys can add what you want. Mekhi Lemon is still really good, which we knew. Jacoby Lane dropped a pass that hit him in both hands. It's one play. I don't want to freak out about that. But let's not forget, the problem that Jacoby Lane has had since he's been at USC is he is not always ready to play. Okay? This is a guy who disappears for long stretches of games. I did not expect him to not focus on that pass and let it hit the turf. And I'm a little bit disappointed. Again, I'm not going to make a big deal of it yet. It's just one play. I've seen Jerry Rice drop passes, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it because this is a guy who is supposed to now be locked in a way that he never has been before. Anybody else want to add anything about the wide receiver room? I don't know that there was a lot that was special that we saw. We got yards after the catch with some plays. That's nice.
I was happy personally to see the touchdown run by Lake McCree. I think that's very important because SC's getting tight ends now, and everyone always goes back to when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, and they had a great tight end, and he threw it to him. I would like to see that happen again, and I think the Lake McCree is really a really good player when he's healthy. He's had some injury problems along the way, but I tell you, when he's healthy, he comes to play. He's a ball player, and I like that. I respect that. I'm excited to see, some of the others at the tight end spot also get an opportunity to catch the ball, which I think will help them down the line.
It's also nice to see a guy who's been around and has worked as hard as that guy has for so many years get a play like that.
What stood out to me from the wide receivers was their willingness to block. I mean, and they made a concerted effort to run down the field and make sure the guys who were racing to the end zone had a little bit of a, convoy, so to speak, even though it was 1 or 2 players. But that's showing, I don't want to say it was missing, but, Taj Washington really stood out with his blocking downfield. You're already seeing that from the freshmen. And
I think you can say it was missing last year. I think it was missing last year.
You said it. I'm trying to be fair here. The other thing, and Eric you put that number out there. How many yards after the catch did the receivers have?
I mean, there's a lot, but I mean, McCree probably had 50, and Eli Sanders had about 70 of it. So that's 120. But they still had another 140, 150. So
91 yards. Was that the yak? Was that the
290?
yak?
290.
It's a lot of yak.
It is.
I think it's not in every box score of every game, but I think the most since Riley's been here. And again, this is the worst team they've played since Riley's been here. So there's a little bit of that. But I think what you're saying, the wide receivers blocking, like I talked about it all last year, right? Explosive plays. Can you turn a 10-yard run into an 80-yard touchdown run or 60 or whatever it is? That is almost always wide receiver blocking downfield. And so if you're not getting it, yes, there's some running back stuff, all of that. If you are consistently not getting that, that is consistently not getting good enough blocking from your wide receivers downfield. And there were a few of them, right? Tanook Hines chasing every single guy down into the end zone in that game. Like you mentioned, Jacoby Lane dropping that ball. He's got that block on the Eli Sanders long touchdown catch and run, right? So those wide receivers really did contribute to that. Now, can you do that against some first and second round NFL picks at corner? Like we'll see when it comes to that. But the want to, right? You need the want to. Like the want to was there in that one. You got to keep that up and keep going.
And how much of that influence comes from Chad Savage joining the staff?
Don't know, but you had look when you have running backs and receivers who want to block for their teammates, it makes an enormous difference, and that really is a want to thing.
Yeah.
Okay, the offensive line, we didn't have any false starts that I can remember. No holding penalties, no obvious mental errors. It's hard to judge an offensive line against that defensive front because even this week, they're going to see better athletes. And certainly once you get into the Big Ten, every week they're going to be playing against people who are far better. So I think the only thing you can say about the offensive line is they seem to know their assignments. They seem to have their head in the game, and they did what they should have done against bad opponents. But are you with me, guys? We have no idea. The biggest question on this football team is that O-line, and we don't know any more now than we did Friday. Right, Greg?
I will say this: they know about this offensive line because they see them in practice against their defense, and you're going to learn more, in my opinion, in practice. Now, granted, when you're in a game and the fans in the stands, the TV cameras, et cetera, you know, how can they focus in on it? But I thought as a unit, they played well as a unit, in my opinion. I like O'Connor at center. You know, he seems to be able to direct everything where it should go, and he's a battler. You know, they always say, well, he's not that big. Well, no, he's 6'1" or whatever he is size-wise, but he's about 290 in that thing. That's good enough. Question is what happens when he faces a guy that's 6'5", you know, 300? Well, he's going to have the natural.
He has been for the last month, right?
Exactly.
We haven't seen it, but he's been doing it.
Exactly. I think the important thing was to watch Raymond as a guard. You know what I mean? If they come out and you're just a fan or you're just on the field and you see, you know, one side of the offensive line is 6'6", 6'7", you go, they're big, you know. But then you look at O'Connor and he makes him look even bigger because he's so short compared to them. But I think if they can play well as a unit, which I think they can, and stay uninjured, it'll be very interesting. I enjoyed the second half watching the guys that back them up. I think that's really important.
Yeah, well, it's hugely important to get those guys reps because at some point you're going to have an injury or two on that O-line, and it's hard to throw a guy in. I mean, they can do it. Justin did it last year. He barely played. He came in and played reasonably well, but that's a really hard thing to do.
And a point you make, that's a good point, Chris, because Justin did make an NFL roster. He did not get cut, to my understanding. He made the team, center, guards. You know, I mean, he was a ball player, and it was nice to see that he made an NFL team.
Well, hard to know what to make of the offense. We're going to see better defenses coming up. Let's flip it over.
Sorry,
sorry.
Throwing in something on the offensive line. Alani Noah, the way he played, again, you're, you know, the sliding scale of who you're going against, but seemed like locked in, drilled guys. I mean, did really well. You need that, right? You need somebody to be like, we need some yards. We got this guy, right? We're going behind him. We're going behind him.
He was moving people.
You need confidence in that. And there were a couple plays last year where, oh, that's not like that's not what you needed out of him at that time. So I'm still waiting to see on the tackles, right? Can you really hold up against a pass rusher that's out there? Like the guys that you put on the whiteboard before the game and go, this guy. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch because Illinois got one of those. Michigan's got a couple. Like they're waiting down the road. But to get that solid play out of the interior of the line, I think that's one of the positives I think you take away from this one.
it's positive that they played well and dominated that group, because if they dominate that group, that doesn't mean they're going to dominate Notre Dame or Oregon or Iowa. But if they don't dominate that group, then you have huge concerns, right? If you're an Oklahoma fan right now, you're looking at saying, we can't run the ball against Illinois State. That's a problem. So Oklahoma's offensive line may have disqualified themselves already. USC certainly did not. They played their assignments. They played smart. They moved guys. They opened up holes. The quarterbacks, other than the time when Longstreet held onto the ball for 38 seconds, there was never anybody around. So that's good. What does that mean? I don't know. And next week at this time, we probably still won't know. And the week after that, we probably still won't know. Maybe after Michigan State, we'll know something. We'll know something after Illinois. It may be a while. Mark?
We know Georgia Southern had a really difficult time stopping the run from Fresno State. What I guess we're looking for from the offensive line on Saturday is, does Lincoln Riley want to just say, stop the run? Stop the
He
run.
doesn't. I'll tell you right now, he doesn't. We started this game off with 5 straight passes. He does not. USC will run the ball and they will have success Saturday, but no, he's going to run his offense, and his offense involves chucking it downfield a fair amount. That's just who he is. It's fine. If he scores a bunch of points, we'll win with this defense. Let's talk about the defense. Let's start in the secondary, actually. And one thing we should point out is USC was missing a lot of guys back there. Guys who I think will probably be starters at some point. Chasen Johnson wasn't out there. Chasen Johnson's probably going to be a starter on this team. You had the Alex Graham, who was running as the first team nickel in practice. I don't know if he's going to start, but he might. He's going to play a bunch. He wasn't out there. So this was a depleted group. But we saw some
Brown too. I mean, that it's right. Another guy that's not going to be out there for a bit, but yeah.
So this was on the edges. It was a depleted group. We did see something from the safeties. Look, everybody knows Kamari Ramsey can play, but we saw something from Bishop Alexander. Greg, what did you think about Bishop Alexander?
Bishop Fitzgerald.
Bishop Fitzgerald. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I thought that Bishop Alexander had a hell of a game, but
he was solid too. I like both of them.
Well, and I think it was a good, should we say, performance for the most part. I was paying a lot of attention to Urlacher. There's something about it. When I hear Urlacher, I think of violence. I think of hard hitting. He made his presence felt in there. I don't know whether he's going to end up starting at this point, but I always felt the secondary had a lot of athletes that could make a difference if they're healthy. And I think this is a position group that could have changes throughout the season because guys will compete, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, if anything, they should be one of the positives on the defense, no question about it. We'll see what happens when people that can light the ball up in the air. We'll see how that happens.
I think you have 4 safeties on that roster that you think could go out there and play at a very high level. So that's a nice thing. We did have one mental error that gave up a long touchdown pass, which you hate to see. And I think it was from a pretty experienced guy too, because I'm pretty sure that I know who made the error. But Mark, go ahead.
Well, was it DJ Harvey or Urlacher? I mean, who?
No, it's Harvey. I'm 90% sure it was Harvey because the outside guy, when you're running that bunch trip set, he has to, if the outside guy goes deep, he has to go deep, and he didn't. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Harvey, which is a little bit of a surprise because Harvey's played a lot of football and had a really good year last year. But at the same time, miscommunication first game is not shocking. So something to keep an eye on. But otherwise, Mark, how do you feel about the secondary?
There's a lot of talent in that safety room. I mean, Christian Pierce acquitted himself very well.
Yep.
Marquise Gallegos, when he got his chance, he took a guy out, timed it perfectly. I mean, there was nothing illegal about the play. He just arrived when the ball did. The guy had left his feet, and he laid him on his back. But overall, what you saw, again, it's hard to say, all right, they dominated against a bad team. They did. They dominated against a bad team. But what you saw from the safety group, Bishop Fitzgerald, having the pick 6, Kamari Ramsey, just making sure everybody's in the right place, doing the right job. And then the cornerbacks, they really never got challenged, so we'll still look for that. But yeah, there's a lot of talent back there. There's no drop off from first string safety, second string safety, and like I said, you can even maybe put Marquise Gallegos out there and see what he can do.
Yeah, a lot of talent that group. Corner, I think there's a lot of talent, a lot of it young and a lot of it hurt. So we'll see what to do with that. It's difficult to judge. Missouri State doesn't have a bad passing game. That quarterback of theirs put up big numbers last year. He's a pretty good player. He's not thrown to the type of athletes that USC is going to see later in the year. So, I mean,
the Fitzgerald play though is just, and that's what they've been missing, right? Like last year, you saw a lot of, okay, they're actually in the right place now, like 90% of the time, as opposed to 40 and 30% the past couple of years. Like they're in the right place, they're doing the right things, everything's kind of there. They still have a couple guys that get blown off the ball at just the worst possible times because they're not physically quite ready yet. You fix some of that. We'll see if it's totally fixed as we get into some of the other opponents. But what was missing last year was like Bishop Fitzgerald on that play where he reads it and has the mental ability and the athletic ability to get there right now, jump in front, catch it, and go. USC has been missing that guy that just makes those plays. Like again, you sure be in the right place, play together, communicate, make a play. Like that's where the quarterback pressure and all that stuff. Like, yeah, you're one-on-one, yeah, hold your lane, yeah, do whatever. Beat that guy and make a sack. Be the guy who's a problem. Bishop Fitzgerald, I think, is a problem. Like that's what we said when he came over. What stands out about him last year? Oh, he deflected and got his hands on more passes than almost the entire USC secondary combined. He is around the ball all the time. I think that's one of those things, whether you're playing Ohio State or Missouri State, like it shows up that you can get to the ball. And that's what I took from that play is that he could find the ball.
Yeah. Let's talk about the linebacker group. Anything jump out at you about those guys? There were a lot of guys that played, right? Elijah Newby led the team of tackles, I think. So there were a lot of guys that played. Greg, what do you think about the linebackers? Anything jump out at you?
Well, I thought Desmond Stevens was going to be a hell of a player. I really do. It's funny when I had a chance to talk with him, I said, SC's had some players from Michigan, where he's from. I said, I'm sure you haven't heard of them, but he was excited. So he says, well, like, who is it? I said, his name was Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson might as well be, John Doe in his world. And he says, how do you spell his name? And I told him. He says, I'm gonna go Google search him. I said, well, I can tell you what, you go to the teams in the 70s and later, you're gonna see this guy's a hitter, and he was a tremendous Trojan. But he was stuck on a whole group on that defense. They might as well have been in the NFL. But I liked him. You can really be overly picky on some of the stuff that you see. I just saw Eric Gentry get blocked out, on a play that he should never get blocked out on. And my feeling is, and I know everybody raves about him, and he's tremendous. That's what they say. But I'd like to see more, to be honest with you. I'd like to see more. I know he's tall. I know he's built bigger now than he has been. I know he really cares. But I don't know if they're playing him all over the place, like they said they were going to try to do. But I'd like to see him become a bigger factor in the game. Maybe he will be a bigger factor in the game. Maybe he'll be all Big Ten. I don't know. But there was a few stuff that I looked at and I just said, you can do better than that. You can do better than that. And again, we don't get to see him in practice, so maybe he hasn't been doing better than that. Maybe makes a great play, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. I don't think I'm worried about him if he stays on the field, but I will say that the linebackers didn't jump out to me. I didn't see a lot of spectacular plays from him, and maybe it wasn't called for in this particular game, but I don't know. Eric, Mark, thoughts on these guys?
I mean, you said they really weren't called upon to do a whole lot in this game, but the future's bright. I mean, Matai Tagovailoa kind of showed everybody why USC wanted him so badly. He forced a fumble, recovered it. I mean, he had a really good game. And this is what happens. If you're a freshman, get out there on special teams because you're going to play. And then when you get that opportunity, late in the game, go show everybody what you can do. And that's what he's doing. He's making the most of his time right now.
I think that for me, that's the key stuff, right? Desmond Stevens and Eric Gentry, I think you leave that game kind of trying to remember plays that they made, but you across the entire defense, who were three guys that flashed in that game? Elijah Newby, you mentioned Matai, and then I think Jaden Walker had a couple things too. And so if you're walking away from that game going, oh, the three guys behind the starters at linebacker are actually starting to, I mean, that was the question, right? Coming in, one of the huge questions for this team is, do they have anybody that they can go to outside of those two starters? Now, again, you're not tackling Penn State's running backs, and you're not you're not dealing with the Oregon offense in that game. But for those to be the flashes that you see of, oh yeah, there's something there. I think that's kind of the main takeaway with the linebackers. But you still, right? It would have been nice if the two starters are just lighting things up and tackles in the backfield and all that kind of stuff. But I'm assuming they're saving something. They didn't throw it all at Missouri State.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to say something that's going to irritate just about everybody watching this. I was underwhelmed with the defensive front. I thought they did fine. They were playing against probably the worst offensive line they'll see all year. And Missouri State, they finished with 220 yards or so. But they were not consistently physically dominant the way I think they should have been. And USC still doesn't have an edge rusher that's going to scare anybody. All right, tell me that I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. Tell me that I'm wrong.
I still saw they had what, 5 sacks?
5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss.
13 tackles for loss. They gave up, a couple of plays. I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't anticipating perfection in game 1. You guys were. I apologize.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I'll forgive you. Eric McKinney.
I thought they were okay. I'm still with you. I don't know that the defensive ends are again going to be a problem for teams. I don't know that. I think Cameron Fountain has really got something as a pass rusher. I think he can get there. I don't think he's there yet, but he needs to be a guy, I think, for this team. He needs to be a guy that shifts the offensive line, all the attention over there, and then you can do stuff off of that. I thought the interior I thought it was fine, right? I thought it was fine. The thing that's going to jump out, right, is the one long run, the 23-yarder that gets out where it's like somebody have enough physicality and speed to bring that down, right? Something that takes that long to get out and you need to block that many guys. Somebody beat somebody and make that play. So that's the one that's going to stand out. But outside of that one, again, you've got one run in that game that gets loose. There really wasn't their lead running back. I can do this quick. The rest of his carries, gain of 1 yard, gain of 2 yards. The only other real big one against the actual USC defense went for 7 on 2nd and 14. He goes loss of 2, no gain, loss of 1, loss of 3, gain of 5, gain of 3. Right? So like it wasn't consistent. We're pushing you around and we're getting stuff done. There's really just the one. But like you said, it's not there wasn't just a pile of carcasses on the ground for the Missouri State offensive linemen, which I think based on what you heard all offseason where the coaches sort of pushed it, it was like 6 of these defensive linemen are unstoppable on every single snap. And so we'll kind of see as it goes forward, like what it looks like. But there wasn't anything to me where I was going, uh-oh, that's a problem. That's not going to hold up against some of these better teams. I think they're going to be fine.
Is it because the coaching staff built Devin Tompkins up to be the next coming of Leonard Williams and that just never showed up? Is that why there's?
I thought he was okay in that game.
Well,
He made a couple flash plays.
I'm asking Greg and Chris because they seem to be really disappointed with the way the defense played.
No, you're overstating it. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm really disappointed. I would say I was a little bit underwhelmed. They played fine. They played fine. They clearly outclassed Missouri State's offensive line, but you didn't see guys over and over again getting into the backfield clean. You didn't see that. And if you go back and look at that Michigan game last year or the Penn State game last year, the teams that had really outstanding speed rushers on the edge. There were times when USC's tackles weren't even out of their stance, and those guys were by them. USC does not have that on this team unless they're going to go to the true freshman who dominated the scrimmage, or unless they're going to move Elijah Newby out there because he runs a 4.40 and probably has the quickness to do it. I think they have good players on the edge, and I think this group will probably be a really good run defense group, because when you have Cam Fountain and Anthony Lucas on the edges, you have those 330 pounders in the middle. I think they're likely to be good against the run. I think teams will have to play against the sticks, and then they're going to get their pressure from blitzing. That's my guess, but we'll see. I still think that group's really good. They did not overwhelm consistently in a way that I think they're capable of doing. I think they could have been better Saturday, and that may be the only group I'd say that about. Greg, thoughts on the defensive front?
Well, I didn't think they were as dominating as I thought I was going to see. I don't think we can still talk about the scrimmage because we're not supposed to talk about the scrimmage. But to me, they didn't seem to get off their blocks quick enough, in my opinion. And they didn't attack areas that I thought they should have been attacking. And you know what? Maybe at that point, in the game, it seemed to start early to me. I mean, when I see really great defenses, you don't get more than an inch. You don't get more than a yard, and it's already busted up. Maybe it was the sets they were in, and maybe Missouri State recognized it. They had a good quarterback with brains, and he knew where to go with it. And then they played hard. But I agree with Chris. Underwhelming maybe is the word that I want. Dominating, no, I don't think I would use the word dominating, but underwhelming, because I think that they have more to give. And maybe when they play somebody that's really good and forces them to bring it every single play. Now, I know they're being taught to do that. There is no doubt in my mind that's what they're being taught to do. And they're going to find out. They played a lot of guys, and they're going to find out just who wants to get out there the most. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. It's too quick to say that the defensive line is a problem. I'm not coming close to saying that. I'm just saying that I think that group is capable of playing better than they played Saturday, and maybe they will. It did not look like a Mike Patterson, Sean Cody, Kenichi Udeze line. I think those guys would have been in the backfield almost every down against a team like that, and that's not what we saw. But it's one game. Let's just see what happens. Maybe that Missouri State offensive line is better than we think they are. I don't know. So we'll see. But it was not the overwhelming performance I expected, despite the fact that the final numbers are really good. 5 sacks, good. 13 tackles for loss, very, very good. They held them to 40-something yards rushing or something. I don't have the stats up in front of me, but I mean, it's all good. It's all good. There's nothing wrong with any of it. So let's just keep an eye out. But maybe we don't start making the new Wild Bunch 3 statue just yet. Let's just wait a few more weeks and see what happens. Okay, guys, let's talk about, I guess, Georgia Southern. Now, I know there are people that think that USC is really fired up because they get to take it to Clay Helton. I don't think that anybody, even people who criticize Clay Helton every day of the week for 6 years, like me, I don't care to see Clay Helton humiliated. I want him to lose badly Saturday, but all I wanted from Clay Helton was to go away and never come back. And now I've lost that because he is, in fact, coming back. And that's really disappointing. Even though he's on the wrong sideline, he's still going to be in the building. I didn't want him in the building. Guys, what is it we should be looking for Saturday against Georgia Southern?
Well,
Eric? Go ahead, Greg.
What's that? I'm sorry. No, I'm looking forward to seeing the reaction of the fans when they first come out and he walks out or whatever for pregame and that sort of stuff. What kind of reception, if any, that he gets. I will say this about, I always refer to him when I write as Gentleman Clay, because he is a gentleman. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He wasn't the right coach for USC, but he got an opportunity to try to show that he could be. It just didn't work out for him. But, you know, if they kill him, nobody's going to be surprised. Nobody's going to be surprised. You're not going to all of a sudden go, well, he's a worse coach than we ever imagined. Look what this SC team did to him. You know, it's not going to work that way. They're going to lose because SC has better players, is extremely well coached, and SC is trying to figure out which players they will really, really need when they start getting beyond the second game. Because let's face it, they're going to go to Purdue. Purdue has a really good coach who really can bring it. They have a lot of positives. They play pretty intense at their stadium, and we'll start to get a little bit scratching of it. Then they'll play Michigan State, and we all know that Jonathan Smith, who I'd have no problem being the head coach at USC, to be honest with you. They might lose by a lot, but you're gonna know what they're attacking. It's probably gonna be what you're gonna see by the bigger boys, so to speak. So, you know, I think that Clay is a good guy. If he gets creamed, you know, he should get creamed. I mean, that I watched some of the Fresno State game, and that was kind of like, oh boy, you got issues, my friend. You got big issues. And I think he knows it. But I don't think he wants to come into the Coliseum and look like, you know, even if they get blown out, he wants to at least look like they played hard and did what they were trying to do. So it'll be interesting at the beginning.
This is a Georgia Southern team that gave up over 300 yards on the ground last week to Fresno State. And you say, well, maybe Fresno State's a juggernaut, but you wouldn't say that if you saw them play Kansas. So, Mark, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to watch Georgia Southern come into the Coliseum Saturday?
About as excited as I was watching Missouri State come in to play USC. And this has nothing to do with Clay Helton. I hope his team acquits themselves well. USC's going to beat them like a redheaded stepchild. I'm not concerned about that. I'm like I said, I think though it's the backstory. How does the Trojan family treat one of their exes, so to speak? Clay gave some really nice words during his press conference today. Look for the handshake at midfield between Lincoln Riley and Clay before the game. Watch it after the game. You'll know how everything went. There's nothing about this game that anybody's really looking forward to other than the family drama.
I mean, one thing we will get to see is we're going to get to see a bunch of guys play Saturday, which is important. Eric, last week, the whole second unit comes in for offense at halftime, but with the defense was subbing liberally from the get-go. I mean, not just up front, but everywhere. Just guys coming in back and forth, which is also when you have, if every once in a while the defense actually doesn't make a play and the other team picks up a first down, one thing to consider is, but do you have any continuity with this unit where you're replacing 3, 4, 5 guys just about every down? And so I think we're going to see more of that Saturday. That's probably good. We get reps for guys who need reps. We're going to see, with live bullets, who can play and who can't. What else are we going to look for Saturday?
I think so. Offensively, for me, it's can you do it again now that there's film on it, right? And again, it's this opponent. It's a step up from Missouri State, I assume. Again, what do we know about teams with the transfer portal and all that, and when they're rebuilt every single year? But Georgia Southern has been a fine team, fine, less than fine, fine compared to Missouri State. So can you find that like green grass everywhere in front of you again against a defense that is seen a little bit and can make some adjustments? And do you have counters to that? Because again, it's one thing to come out scripted. Missouri State has no idea what they're about to get into, and you roll over them. Uh, is the wide receiver blocking? Is the open space there? Is the offense working that well again? I think because the easy thing, right, is well, just run it 70 times for all of that. And like you could, but I'm more interested in can you just run your sort of typical offense and find that level of success again? Because that'll mean a lot if you can do that 2 weeks in a row. Defensively, it's sort of what you said. I mean, I love guys getting this many snaps. The fact that it has to be in games that count and all that is a little frustrating because you want to see better games. But it's so helpful. Like last year, there was so much like Cameron Fountain needs to play. This young guy needs to play. This young guy needs to play. They weren't ready yet. They weren't ready yet. Like it takes a while. So the more snaps that you can get, like the reason that a lot of guys play well once they get on the field, it's not like, oh, I told you they should have played earlier. It's no, that was the progression of that guy. Now he's ready to not screw up in huge ways, and now we can put him out there, and that's why he's playing well. So if you could fast forward that process with a bunch of these young guys earlier in the year, that's huge for the middle part of the season because guys are going to start to go down and you need fill-ins. And if those guys have already taken 30, 50, 60 snaps through 3 games, it's huge for you. So you want to see that again. And I think just right, the pass play on 4th down, that's a clear communication bust. No more of those. Or very limited to where they don't crush you like that. I think that's a big key too, is to sort of turn that off as you go forward. Because that's really a big thing, week 1 to week 2. What coaches will say like that's where you need to take a big jump.
Yeah. One of the advantages that the really good teams have is that if you blow people out a lot, then your young guys play a lot. And if last year USC was in close games every week. And if you're in a close game every week, you can't take a true freshman who's not ready to play in prime time and stick him out there for 10 or 12 plays.
And let your recruits in the stands see that those guys are playing in those home games.
Yeah. But those steps matter. You have a true freshman, a guy like Desmond Stevens. I mean, he didn't play a ton last year, but he probably played 70, 80 snaps of defense, maybe more. That makes a big difference because when you first play in a college football game, things move a whole lot faster than you expected them to. And you need things to slow down for you. And they only slow down for you when you become accustomed to it from the reps. So this will not be the most exciting game we've ever seen. USC will blow them out, almost certainly. If they don't, we have huge problems. But it is an opportunity to get a lot more guys reps, and USC needs that. They need that for depth this year. They need it for next year when you're sticking out a bunch of sophomores who you need to play. Those guys need to play some this year. Anybody else want to talk about Georgia Southern? I really don't, to be honest. I mean, it's just a lot. This is the worst 2-game stretch I can remember at USC, Missouri State, Georgia Southern.
Let's put it into this context because USC started outside the top 25 preseason. What is going to be, and because now all of a sudden ESPN has shifted the narrative, strength of schedule matters. Alabama lost. We got to look at these teams that are playing these tough games. How many points does USC have to score, and how many do they have to win by to stay in that conversation where they say, all right, USC will move you up out of the others receiving votes category?
If it's just 1 week, it doesn't matter. They just have to not lose. But if But if they want to build some buzz before they actually play Illinois, then they probably need to put up 60 again, and they need to have some big plays. And look, it does matter. I mean, good teams, when they play against an overmatched opponent, should dominate them, and so that should happen. But if USC beats Georgia Southern by 32 or 21, and we're all disappointed, that doesn't mean that the year is shot. But and it doesn't mean that USC will be penalized by the voters. Voters aren't watching this game Saturday anyway. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think USC is going to roll these guys. That's what I think is going to happen. Okay, let's put that aside then, and let's talk about nationally. What did you see this week that you thought was interesting? There were a lot of interesting games. Some games that weren't very interesting. But Greg, what did you see this week, apart from USC in college football, that kind of captured your interest a little bit?
Well, I have to say, getting up early to watch Texas and Ohio State, how should I put this? Sark was Sark. He has a way of making sure that he just doesn't get over the hump. They start off number one in the country and it just whatever. I was actually impressed with the quarterback of Ohio State, Julian Sayin. He's from Carlsbad, down the road from, where I live in Orange County. He's in San Diego, but it's not that far, maybe 15 minutes. I thought he handled himself really good. And I tell you what, having been to Ohio State to see, SC play there, that is really intense. I mean, that's about as intense as you could possibly get it. And there's a lot of pressure. You say, well, wait a minute. He had the crowd rooting for him. Well, you know what? Even if you have the crowd rooting for him, there's that sense that you really feel a pressure to come through. And I thought he came through. In fact, I thought Ohio State, to me, if we're going to be jumping to number one and number two, number three, I thought Ohio State deserved to be number one right this moment. Okay, only because I thought Sayin was better than I was expecting him to be. Alabama, I wasn't overly surprised that they would lose. It's just the manner of which they lost. Notre Dame against Miami, I wanted to see Notre Dame win, to be honest with you. I have no great thrill of seeing Mario Cristobal win games and, contend for the national title, at Miami, like he's the savior of their program. But you know what? It's still early, but those are the games that I kind of had some interest in and followed when I was in the press box. We were checking to see who was scoring. I think the real disappointment, though, I know it's not a national game and the great meaning, was how bad UCLA looked. Oh my God. I remember seeing the head coach at UCLA when he was running back at Tustin, and he was a really great player. And then he goes to UCLA and he was a fine player. And he goes to the NFL and he does fairly well as in the NFL. But never once would I have ever guessed that he would be an assistant coach or a head coach anywhere. Maybe high school, I was imagining, but if I'm a UCLA fan, I'd be really nervous right now. Really nervous.
There are no UCLA fans, Greg. Nobody shows up to watch them. Nobody cares. What's amazing about UCLA, because there have been other programs like Nebraska is a shell of what they used to be, but people still care about Nebraska. UCLA has almost disappeared. It's almost like UCLA is an FCS team. I mean, they don't recruit elite talent. They never compete against USC for recruits anymore. That used to be a thing, right? For a long time.
I'm learning about UCLA like key starters as the season is unfolding. Like I don't know who's over there. I don't know who's over there. That's
guys
crazy.
You've never heard of.
That's crazy. You always knew. You always knew who they had and who their guys were going to be and who was actually on that roster. It's like John Vaughns and Nico because of the offseason. Who's their starting running back? Who are their top two receivers right now? I mean, that's where that program has gotten to, and I don't know what Sean Foster's going to do. Like, I don't know if he knows what to do. I mean, I have no idea what that path forward is for that program.
That is a program that has quit. They've quit, and that's despite the fact that they had a pretty good year a couple of years ago when Dan Lynn came in and they played really good defense. But that's a program that's quit. They don't recruit as an elite program. They don't have any fan support. Nobody cares about them. And you can follow recruiting very carefully in Southern California and still not recognize half of those UCLA starters. It's wild.
And yet we have Trojan fans concerned that USC has to play Notre Dame and UCLA back to back at the end of the year sometimes. Why are we, again, you guys are making the argument. UCLA sucks right now. I mean, they are at a level that even I'm starting to like, I feel bad for Deshaun Foster because he's a good guy. You know, he's leading a program right now that is circling the drain, and to have 30,000 at your opening game.
And it wasn't 35. First of all, I'm about to call this program.
Wait, that's not. It may have been 35. I
Well,
mean,
that's what they announced.
you have to count from the aerial photo. I think they got 35.
So far in this show, Mark has said that he's feeling sorry for UCLA, and Greg has admitted he was rooting for Notre Dame. I'm about to pull the plug on this whole thing, guys. Eric, Alabama looks terrible.
Yeah.
Alabama hired a really good head coach to replace maybe the all-time great college head coach. I don't know. He's in the argument, obviously. And here we are, 14 games into this experiment, and it is a disaster. They've lost 5 of their last 9 games against FBS opponents. They in their last 4, they were absolutely crushed and almost shut out by a lousy OU team. They lost to a Michigan team that can't complete a forward pass, and then they go out and get curb stomped, like physically dominated by Florida State. It's stunning what has happened to that program. And if you're an Alabama fan right now, you have to be very nervous because that looks like a 7-win team to me.
I think Kalen DeBoer can be a good coach and not the right fit at that school, right? We've seen that plenty of times. And I think that's part of it. I think another part of it is that Nick Saban started feeling the seesaw tilt and start to level out, and it was like, well, that's a good time to get out of here, right? When everybody has access to car dealerships now, you don't get that anymore. And as the playing field levels out, that's what happens. You lose everybody loses more games. But the run that they put together, all of the sort of timing and the benefits that they had during that time, the schools that were down around them, all of that helped so much in there. Now, I'm not, Nick Saban is, we love Pete Carroll, right? Pete Carroll's always going to get thrown in there. Nick Saban is one for college coaches in the last however many years. You probably want to go back. But you put your finger on the scale a little bit and you can win a whole lot of games, a whole lot of national championships. So I think that's a big part of it. But I still don't think that, like, Kalen DeBoer, when he comes out of this, I'd chase him if I have an AT somewhere. Like, I think that guy can coach. I just think it's a bad match right now from what we've seen with him there.
It looks like that. And I think it's probably the case that the teams that were dominant, the Nick Saban teams, even Georgia more recently, Pete Carroll's teams, Urban Meyer's teams, go back to the Miami teams of the 80s, had enormous talent advantages over their opponents. I mean, Pete Carroll had years where the 4th-string guy was a 5-star recruit, right? I mean, and every guy you'd put on the field had an NFL body. I think those days are gone for everybody, and that doesn't mean there won't be great teams. In any given year, you can have a team that's fantastic. But look at last year. Ohio State looked amazing toward the end of that season. They didn't look amazing through a lot of the regular season. In the days of NIL, you are not going to be able to hoard talent the way John McKay did. You can't do it. You can't do it. And so, so I think there's going to be a little bit more parity anyway. And there is something wrong culturally, it seems to me, in Alabama right now. That does not look like a program that is playing anywhere near or is nearly as committed to playing good football as they probably should be. And you know what? Good for them. It's about time that their fans took a beating. They had an extended period of time where they were on top of the world. It always comes crashing down eventually. So I hope that we get to, I mean, I hope they go 5-7 this year. That'd be fantastic.
Well,
I think
down to their quarterback. I mean, look, their quarterback right now is starting for Ohio State. So it's that type of stuff. Besides the fact that, yeah, you're still going to get the Ryan Williams every now and then, but this is what we've been talking about. The playing field's been leveled. Alabama can offer you a car, so can everybody else, but other programs are willing to pay Micah Downs to come play for their program, where Alabama might not have that booster support to make it happen.
the quarterback thing is so interesting. That's what I took away from this, is that coaches are just rushing their quarterback, just sitting on him. Don't do anything. Can't have you do anything. Don't try to throw here. Don't try to throw there. Just sit on the ball. Don't do anything. Like, you're turning 5-star, big time 4-star quarterbacks into babysitters, right? Like they're not. Coaches are always so nervous, and maybe it's a week one thing, right? We can't lose. I can't let you lose this game for me. But whoever wins the national championship this year, whoever goes far, right? The last 4 teams or whatever, you're going to have a great offensive line. You're going to have a great defensive line. Like, those are non-negotiables to run through a playoff scenario. But it feels like a race to just who can put a quarterback situation together for them, and a guy who can make a couple throws. Because we saw at the end of just about every game, it was like, let's just sit on this and see what happens. Can our kicker make a kick? Can our defense come up? Like, nobody went out and was like, let's go win this game by throwing passes downfield and making plays happen. I thought that was, again, maybe it's a week one thing, but that felt like universal across the sport in the real games, right? FCS, FBS stuff, like, not in those.
You had all that talk before the Notre Dame game about what a great arm Carr has. And then they don't let him throw the ball more than 2 yards past the line of scrimmage for 4 quarters. It was wild. Notre Dame losing a close game to a highly ranked Miami team does not come close to ruining your season, right? They lost to Northern Illinois last year early on, and they were still all right.
Ohio State lost at the end of the year to Michigan in a game that would have knocked you out of any national championship conversation in the past history of college football.
Now, that being said, if you're the Irish and you play the schedule they play this year, they only play 3 good teams. They just lost to one of them. If you don't beat A&M and USC, you're going to, I mean, maybe because you're Notre Dame, you get thrown in there anyway, probably will. But I'd be nervous if I were them. You've got to win both those games, because if you lose one of those 2 and you go 10-2, having beaten one decent team, and then a whole schedule of cream puffs, which is what it would be, I don't know.
I still say prove it on the strength of schedule versus wins losses at the end. Prove it. 2-loss team, 2-loss Notre Dame's getting in. I still think. The committee's got to prove it to me that they're going to take a 3-loss team over a 2-loss team when the strength of schedule you can point to yes and yes.
Look,
I'm with you.
A 10-2 Notre Dame with this schedule, and I know a lot of people say, well, they only have 3 tough games. The people who are in charge of selecting the teams, if they see Notre Dame's 10-2 with the names Texas A&M, Miami, Arkansas, the 5 or 6 games that they play from the ACC, plus Navy, that's still a pretty darn good schedule when you're just looking at the names of the teams. You never know how good a team's going to be from year to year. So you have to give them credit for that. It's the same argument USC fans have been using forever when they were part of the Pac-10, Pac-12. So if we just take the blinders off and be fair about it, that's what we're kind of working with right now.
Well, to be fair about it, A&M looked like garbage.
Sure.
USC right now is unranked. And other than that, Arkansas's nothing. I mean, that Notre Dame schedule is bad. It's bad.
If you're playing outright, Navy is the Army Navy stuff that they'll do sometimes, that's sort of baked into who they're going to play. you fill it up with Power Four teams the rest of the way, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that, right? If you want to go pick Boston College and Stanford and what and some of those things, like I kind of get the tie-ins on those, but and that's what we say about the SEC thing, right? It's like I know that some of those SEC teams are good, but you're giving yourself a day off when you pull in an FCS team in November, right? Like those the day offs are what's hard because it's
Yeah.
hard to beat a mediocre Power Four team like every single week because you're down and up and you got like injury issues, you got turnover, bad luck games, like that stuff will happen and you'll get bit if you're playing power teams all the way through the schedule. So I'm not going to crush them. It'll come up if there's some sort of like tiebreaker, whatever, and USC's got an Oregon on their schedule and some of those teams, and they stay ranked. That'll come up in the end for sure. I'm not going to crush them out of the gate for what it looks like. I think maybe
Yeah,
next maybe next week.
It probably would have helped them if Boise State wouldn't have been blown out too, since Boise's on their schedule also. And I'm not gonna crush Arch Manning because I think Arch is going to be a good player, and Texas is going to win a lot of games this year. They have really good defense. They have a lot of talent. I'm with Greg on Sark. I don't trust the guy, but they're going to win a lot of games. But can we admit that it was absolutely insane to make the runaway Heisman favorite a guy who has never been a full-time starter just because his uncles were really good football players? I mean, that's nuts.
Absolutely. And you have to take into consideration his high school competition. It wasn't strong. I know he played in the state of Texas, but it wasn't great competition. And his first game as a starter in the shoe against the reigning national champions. How does that game play out if it was in Texas? I know Sark is still the play caller, but flip the
Yeah, Julie, I think Sayan would have had a more difficult time in Texas, although I liked him. I thought he was good. Arch is going to be fine. He's a good player. He's going to be good. Texas is going to be good. But the hype around a guy who really hadn't done anything yet, it was pretty extraordinary. And I guess we can hold off on getting that plane ticket to New York right now. All right, guys. Anything else we should talk about before we call it a night? I'll take that as a no. All right, next week we're going to talk about Georgia Southern, and then we'll have the preview for Purdue. So it only gets better, people. Every week gets a little bit better. All right,
We're ramping up. We're
ramping up. All right, well, thanks for joining us. Look, it's good to be 1-0, and 73-13 is nothing to sneeze at, no matter who you're playing. So we'll take it. Until next week, fight on, everybody.